Okay, welcome to episode 5, I believe, of our little series of Java tutorials. So in this one today we're going to be making methods, and this is one of the most difficult lessons there is. So just be ready to pause, replay the video, whatever you need. I'll try to cover everything. So like I said in the last one, I gave you a little bit of a brief introduction. Methods are like cookie cutters to cookie dough, right? They take in a specific type of data, and they spit out some sort of alteration to that data relative to it, generally, at least. So let's say we had we wanted to do the Pythagorean theorem on some data, right? So we would have double leg 1 is equal to 3 double leg 2 is equal to 4, right? And then we could do it here. We could say, leg 1 squared plus leg 2 squared is equal to hypotenuse, and then we do hypotenuse is equal to square root of hypotenuse. We could do that, fine. But what if we wanted to do it again, right? Instead of just copying those two lines of code, how about we set it so that whenever we want to take the Pythagorean theorem, we don't have to insert more lines of code every time. We just call a specific method to do the same task for us. We just input different data to it, right? So that's what methods are handy for. So remember, this whole thing is called the main method for a reason. And it has the most basic elements of a method. So it says public, right? That's the I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the amount that you can access it, right? So public means it can be accessed from any class. So if I opened up a new class here, called it whatever, I could still access the other methods, right, in this class, as long as I say public. Private can only be accessed within your class. So those are the two, public and private. Then we've got static. Don't worry about it. Just know that you can only reference other static methods and variables from within a static method, right? So the reason I have to make this new method static is because we're calling it from the main method, which is also static. Now, void. The reason it says void, because void is a type of return type. And so that's the type of data your method is going to give back. It's what it's saying back to the to where it was called, right? So in this case, we'll be returning a double. We'll be returning a long decimal usually. And then here's where we put our name. So we'll just call it Pythagorean theorem, right? I think that's how you spell it. We'll just do right there, short for hypotenuse. And then here we've got our parameters. The parameters are the data that you put into a method, right? So think with the cookie cutter example, this is your raw cookie dough. This is what you're putting in that needs to be edited. So we'll just call it double A, double B. So these are the two variables that need to be put in. And now these are called, this is like sort of a generic thing. So when we end up editing this, what we're doing is it's sort of like we're creating copies of the information that we put in, and we're just naming them differently. And then we do all our operations and we're editing the different named things. We're not actually editing the variables that we put in, and I'll show you that. So if I do, so we'll have a new variable here called double C is equal to math.pow. That's the power, right, of A, and then you do to 2 plus math.pow B, and then you also do 2. So that's effectively A squared plus B squared, right? And then now that C squared, we want to just get C. So we say C is equal to math.sqrt, that's the square root of C. And that eliminates C squared. Now C is just C. And so we end it with a return C. So it recognizes that C is of type double, and you're returning it. So it satisfies the method's need for a return. And so we could call this here. We could say, we'll say double hypotenuse. I don't know how to spell hypotenuse. Double answer is equal to HYPT leg 1, comma leg 2. And then we'll do system.out.println answer. So what this is right here is it's basically printing out the return of this value, which should be 5. Yes. That's what's called a Pythagorean triple. Fun math fact for you. If the leg 1 plus leg 2 is equal to the hypotenuse, so like 3, 4, and 5, right? They go 1, 2, and then the next one, right? So 3, 4, 5, that's a Pythagorean triple. I think another one is 12, 13, and 14 or something like that. 13, 14, 15. One of them. But so those are your Pythagorean triples. That's a little math fact for you. So what's effectively happening is that it's saying, okay, let's call this method, and as a parameter, we know it needs 2 doubles. So here's our doubles. Leg 1 is equal to 3, leg 2 is equal to 4. And so what it's doing is it's sort of copying the values in these variables. It's not actually editing the variables themselves. And the way you can see this is if we do this, right, and if we say A is equal to A times 2, this is going to mess up our answer, right? So instead of that, I'll say print out leg 1. So leg 1, if when A is being changed, if it would have changed leg 1, what you would see here is 6, but you're not. You're going to see 3. Because leg 1 remains unchanged. It's only A that changes. And you can actually print this out easier. You can just do sysout, and then you just do HYPT leg 1, leg 2. The difference is that you actually save the value. If you set it equal to a variable, you save the value. Here, you're just printing it out once, and you're tossing it out. So it's equal to 5. You can use this same method or whatever calculation you want for the Pythagorean theorem. Put in any value. If you copy this, you'll get the answer right. What's effectively happening is we can now just, anytime we want the Pythagorean theorem done, if we want to find the hypotenuse, no matter how long our main method is, we can just call this method here, and it'll do the calculation for us, and it'll return the value. So I know it's complicated. This is just an introduction to methods, and this is all we'll go over for now. We'll go more in depth later. A bit of an example though. So static. Remember how I said public's alternative is private, right? So you can be public or private. Static, you just delete it if you don't want it. Right, but then you'll get an error because you have a static method referencing a non-static one, so you need to keep static there. Double, you've got integer, right, as a return type. You've got string as a return type. You've got void as a return type. Void means you're not returning anything, so you wouldn't have to put a return statement there. What was this version of double? There's also one specific case where you don't have a return type, but that's unique, and we'll go over that. So that should cover all. Remember, this determines whether or not you can access it from another class. This is relative to other static methods. This is your type that you return. This is the name, and this is the parameters. And within it is all the code that's executed. Whenever it's called, it executes it. Don't worry if you don't understand. We'll go over this more later. I will try to put those videos in the links to those in the description when I make them. But until then, if you have any pertinent questions that you don't exactly understand, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will see you.